Hey Book Dragons! Today I'm coming at you again with another review. This time for A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Oh my god, I love this book. Okay, first I'm going to give you my impressions, then we'll go into the book a little bit. If the name V.E. Schwab sounds a little bit familiar, she is also the writer of the Savage Song series. So, I mean, obviously, her work is already fantastic because I gave it a glowing review on that one. What I really liked about this one is while it's done by the same author, the writing style was also different. While in the Savage Song there was a lot of musical tones, there was a lot of musicality to the writing, in this one there's definitely not as much. It's more detailed, it's more in-depth. There is a lot of stuff that goes into the book. And with that writing style, we obviously ran into a problem where, and this is me, I'm not saying this is the same for everybody, but this book took me just a little while to get into because it's part of a trilogy, and there is a lot of build-up that went into this. I was definitely over halfway through the book before it finally really grabbed onto me and took me along for the ride. But once it got to that point, it was amazingly well done. I will say the worlds within this book, and yes, I do say worlds, are totally different, totally unique, even though they are the same. Yeah, I'll get to that in a little bit. But for the writing style of this book and the adventure and the character development and all of that, it's definitely a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, into the actual book. In this book, we follow two characters. The first character we meet, his name is Kell, and he's an Antari. He's a magic user. But the way you can tell he's different from most magic users is one of his eyes is pitch black. So it's really a defining characteristic of the Antari, which there are only 2 of right now in all the worlds that this book takes place in. The other character we follow is called the Lila Bard, and she is not a magic user, but she's an interesting character all on its own just because she's a thief. She is a pickpocket. And she's a very good pickpocket and a very good thief. And she uses her appearances to her advantage because she's made herself look like a man instead of a woman. So, I mean, obviously that pays a lot to how well she's been able to succeed in the pickpocket world. In this book, it takes place in London. The thing is, there are technically 4 Londons, though we only get to see 3 of them. And we'll get into that, too. There's Grey London, and that London actually has little to no magic at all. You can almost say Grey London is our world, where we think there's magic, we can feel magic, and the people in Grey London are desperate to have magic. They will come up with any way to get magic. That's kind of where Kell comes in. I'll get to that one. There's Red London, which is actually surrounded by magic. Magic is in the air and in life itself in Red London. And it's just, there's obviously such a difference between the Grey London and the Red London, just by the fact of magic, no magic. So just, there's that. And then there's White London. And White London has actually learned to control the magic. It has gotten to a point where it has conquered magic almost in its entirety, and they control it. It does what they want it to do. So the White Londoners, they actually have ways of controlling magic through the way of talismans. They also have a tendency to tattoo themselves with any magical symbol that they can get a hold of. And again, now, onto the 4th London, which we don't actually get to see in this book, but it was there, and is because of this. It's called Black London, and Black London actually fell to the magic. The magic consumed it to the point that the other Londons actually blocked themselves off. Grey London was so far away that it didn't feel it. So, okay. So the way Kell describes the 4 different Londons is like a book. They overlap each other to a point where Black London's at the bottom, then there's White London, Red London, Grey London. And Grey London, obviously being furthest from the magic, did not feel it as much as White London did. When Black London fell, the Red London decided to retreat and close the doors, leaving White London to deal with the aftermath of all of that. Eventually, all the doors were sealed, and all that was left to travel between the Londons were the Antari. And the thing about the way these Londons work is they're all different within the worlds. The Grey London, again, is like our world, so it's London as it's set up. So Red London is part of the Kingdom of Maresh, but it's not really London, but again, since it's like pages of a book, all the Londons fall on top of each other, so they're all in the same location, even though they're laid out a little bit differently. White London, they didn't go in a whole lot to about how actually their world was set up. All we know is that there are a pair of twins on the throne called the Danes that control White London through power, and essentially they killed off the last one that wanted to be in charge. And that's how White London works. It's a lot like Rome if you think about it. You know, one week there's one king, the next week there's another one, and then just so on and so forth. We're good. So Kell is one of the only ones, well, he's one of two that are able to travel between the Londons being and Antari, and so is Holland. So, being the Antari, they are the official messengers of Red London, who is Kell, White London, who is Holland. And they're able to take messages back and forth between the kingdoms, and that's how everyone's able to stay communicated. No one else can do this. And Kell also has a really interesting side job. He's a bit of an unofficial smuggler, which will eventually get him into trouble. I'm trying not to make this too spoilery. While Kell was in Grey London on one of his trips between the crowns, which is the only way this is able to work, because transference is not allowed. It's actually forbidden. He runs into someone who has asked him to take an artifact to the Red London, because there's family in one London and the other part of the family's in the other London, and yeah. So after Black London had fallen, they thought all of the artifacts of Black London had been destroyed. They hadn't. Here's a piece, and Kell ends up in possession of it. All the pieces of Black London were supposed to have been destroyed, and they weren't. On one of his trips, Kell ends up with a piece of Black London in one of the Londons, and he ends up transferring it back to Red London because he was trying to get home, and he was attacked. By that point, he then transfers himself into Grey London, where we run into Delilah, also known as Lila. We'll call her Lila from now on. And the first time she actually runs into the Black Stone is when she pickpockets Kell, and she picks up that. So after they meet, they end up going on this outrageous adventure, which includes a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of magical use, which, duh, magic. I love magic. And definitely a bit of court intrigue in all of this, because it ends up that, like, there wants to be a coup, and it gets really interesting. Eventually, by the end of it, everything's good. Everything's fine. So I love this book. I would totally read it if I were you. I would read all of them. There's just something about the way that V.E. Schwab writes that is amazing and just grabs hold of you and pulls you along for this adventure. So, when you get a chance, definitely pick up A Darker Shade of Magic and then the rest of the books. So I will see you guys in the next book review, which will probably be The Help. I haven't exactly decided yet. So, keep reading those books and burning through them like the dragons you are. Bye, guys. Bye, day.
Derp.
Blooper reel. Blooper. You are totally going in the blooper.